G'day to all. Good evening. It's just 6:30 sharp. So as I'm sit like Swiss like I'm starting. So I bet that not many are connected just yet, and I'm just looking, and once we have a few people in this room, then I'll start talking for true, and as usual I will speak of my week and my odyssey into AI for higher education on one hand, and I will also speak a bit of some AI news, and then address what is acceptable and what is not acceptable in relation to AI use in the dissertation. Hi 𝗬𝗵𝗲𝘀𝗶, welcome. I hope you had a good week. I hope you had a good week with the date for your Viva now set. I suppose you are feeling highly relieved, and I suppose that you can consider you had a good week. I suppose so, I assume, but I do not think it is too much of a strong assumption I'm making here. And I see we have 2 participants tonight. I'm not sure who else is with us. So for our second guest, if you're okay to say hi in the chat or whatsoever, please feel free to do so. I have no idea who's connected, who's watching, and the principle, for those who do not know Twitch, the principle is that it's not a webinar. It is meant to be interactive, and as so the more interactions we have in the chat, the nicer it is for everybody. 𝗬𝗵𝗲𝘀𝗵𝗀, you're doing good. You're continuing to prepare for the Viva. That's great. At some point, we will have to have a chat about your Viva, not just presentation, but presentation and answers to potential questions. Some of the questions that were raised by the reviewers in the report you received, and questions to which you did not attend in the revised thesis. Here, anything you have not explicitly addressed in the document, in the revised document, is bound to be discussed orally during the Viva. And I think it would be good if we could have a talk at some point, knowing, and just taking advantage of this stream, just to let you know that I will be in Grenoble from the 10th of February. I will arrive earlier afternoon, I think. So if you want, we can meet in the afternoon, or we can have dinner or have coffee or whatsoever, and discuss together not just the slideshow, but how the Viva is going to be run, and sort of prepare for that. Just let me know, and if you're up to it, then my Tuesday afternoon or evening will be yours. If you prefer not to, for whatever reason, then I will organize my afternoon and evening differently. So I'll let you inform me whenever you feel like telling me if you prefer us meeting on the day before or not. And there is no obligation, of course. So for this week, a number of things have happened. So that would be a good opportunity to prepare. Thank you very much for offering. My pleasure. So assume I'll be there. I think I'm arriving around 1 p.m. or something I think around 1 p.m. At the station, and this means we could meet short afterwards, or any time in the afternoon, or if you prefer, in the evening over dinner. In which case, there are a few places that are nice in Grenoble, and we could go, but you decide. Okay, so let's do this way. You will be there on the 10th of February, which is the day before, just like me. And let's organize this out with this stream. So on my side for this week, and on the AI front, a number of things have happened. And here I'll start with this, and then I will discuss what is acceptable, what is not acceptable in terms of using AI in the dissertation. Of course, everything I'm going to say about what is acceptable and what is not acceptable is not grounded in any officially released policy or whatsoever by any school, to the best of my knowledge. But it is based on, I would say, experience on one hand, and based on, I would say, the essence of the dissertation on the other hand. That is, things that would be common sense or good sense, hopefully not commonplace, but setting the scene of how AI can help and where AI should definitely stop. So this will be for tonight. But first some news from AI at large. One thing that struck me this week is that Microsoft is trying to catch up on AI. So Microsoft is a wee bit behind other tech companies with AI, and Microsoft has decided to produce their own chips specifically for AI for two reasons. One is that there is a big shortage, a worldwide shortage of chips for AI and of graphic processor units. You know, those components that are critical to AI, because OpenAI is buying lots, because other companies are buying lots. So Microsoft decided to launch, to create its own. But also, my understanding is that it is all a big paradigm shift at Microsoft, because for the past 40 years, roughly, Microsoft has always sort of neglected hardware, privileging middleware, so the operating system, and software, and now the cloud. But something that has long been Microsoft's weakness is that the chips manufactured by Intel or by others and the computers assembled and then using Microsoft products were not specifically designed for Microsoft products. And as Microsoft products are licensed, it is difficult for other computer manufacturers to build something that is perfectly integrated with Microsoft products. And contrary to this, Apple has done two things. So historically, Apple had its own chips so that they were perfectly integrated with the hardware, so hardware, middleware, and software. Then in the 2000s, they decided to outsource chip manufacturing to Intel. And more recently, 2021 or 22, I can't remember, with the M1 chip, they decided to manufacture their own chips again, so as to make sure that their computers are not just more performant or performing better, but also that they crash less. So since Microsoft already invested in OpenAI with access to ChatGPT, why does Microsoft need to build its own chips? It needs to build its own chips to make sure that the servers, that all the infrastructure that will use AI is strong enough. And of course, using OpenAI is one thing, but Microsoft is both investing in OpenAI and is also sort of competing a wee bit with Copilot and with Azure. So it is a sort of a competition in which Microsoft needs to be strong enough. And this is particularly true as Microsoft is not as strong in the cloud, in cloud infrastructures as Amazon would be, for instance, with Amazon Web Services, and it is a way of catching up. So Microsoft is sort of is not too strong in infrastructures, not too strong with AI itself, and at some point needs to be also self-standing. This is my understanding of why Microsoft is going for its own chips. So this is one piece of news coming from this week. Also from this week, the European Commission has started prosecuting Apple and Google because of the dominant position of their app stores. You may know that alternative app stores exist, and that those alternative app stores should enable users to download and install apps without being obliged to use the Google Store or Apple Store. But how those work and how those are sort of allowed by Android and iOS is such that Google and Apple are suspected of abusing their dominant position, and for that reason there is a prosecution with probably a couple of billions of euros to pay in fines if no agreement is found. So this is where we're at for now. Also, something else is struck me. Meta is trying to catch up with AI. So Meta keeps investing in AI. I can't remember the amount of money they have invested, but they're massively investing. They're also acquiring a number of startups specializing in AI, so as to catch up, and also so as to hide the big flop, the big failure which the metaverse was. I do not know if you remember 10 years ago, 2015, everybody was telling that the metaverse would be the future, and all this was starting with Meta. And honestly, I have never understood what this jolly metaverse would be and why the metaverse would be such a revolution, the announced revolution. Honestly, I did not understand. And now I think it is even less understandable since we have virtual reality, which is much stronger than the metaverse, as Meta was presenting it. And on this account, I remember, I think it was last year, I visited the immersive Van Gogh exhibition in Brussels. It was just fantastic. And here I think it was more than, it was virtual reality even without the virtual reality glasses. And then there was also a facility where with the glasses you could navigate between or across the paintings. It was just incredible, so realistic. I mean, you were really immersed, and I think it was much more stronger than the metaverse, which, if I remember, looked like a computer game in the 80s or 90s, you know, highly pixelized, like Zelda or Super Mario Bros. #1 or 2. Nothing really extraordinary. So I'm not surprised it's not working. I'm not surprised it's over. Then also something else which was striking this week was that 𝗬𝗵𝗲𝘀𝗶𝗀, your impression was that the metaverse would be a place for people to escape the real world, but I think it needs a lot more work, maybe to integrate with virtual reality. So it was as far as I remember, the metaverse was presented as a sort of an alternative reality where you could be sort of in a classroom environment with other people. You could interact with others, etc. But all this was more or less like a computer game. Whilst nowadays, just with virtual reality, you can simulate it. You know, with your virtual reality glasses, you can program it so your environment looks like a classroom. So your couch, your sofa could look like a desk in a lecture theatre or whatsoever. And I think the metaverse was not mature at all. So it was borrowing from an old technology and promising a technology which was not ready at the time, and which now is much stronger than what the metaverse itself could promise. But this is my feeling nowadays, 10 years on. So what also struck me this week, two things. One is that there is that you might have heard of 𝗬𝗫𝗀𝗀𝗀, which also is known as 𝗘𝗁𝗫𝗀𝗀𝗀. And it is what is it? It's a 𝗘𝗁𝗫𝗀𝗀𝗀. Interestingly, it is an agent. So it's really an agentic AI that can really do the work for you, that can send your emails, that can sort of take control of your computer, send emails, write in Excel, so do things while you're doing something else. So in one sort of app, everything which is promised by all other AI companies, you know, with agentic AI, will do this, will revolutionize this, that, blah, blah, blah. And this app, 𝗘𝗁𝗫𝗀𝗀𝗀, does it. 𝗘𝗁𝗫𝗀𝗀𝗀, what is interesting is that its founder, so it's an Austrian, I'm just writing it in the chat, so just give me a sec. 𝗘𝗁𝗫𝗀𝗀𝗀 or 𝗬𝗫𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀. It's 𝗬𝗫𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀, I think it's 𝗬𝗀 with a D, not a T. And it's in, so, no, I can't edit the message. So, So what is interesting is that its founder said that it's not mature yet and should not be used by non-developers, non-professional IT people, because there are many security issues associated with it. So he recommends not using it, the founder, the creator, but it exists. It exists. And if you go on Instagram, you will find a number of things on 𝗬𝗏𝗏. And something interesting is that initially, and that's why we heard of it this week, initially it was called 𝗬𝗁𝗏𝗀𝗀, 𝗬𝗁𝗏𝗀𝗀, and Anthropic forced him to change the name, threatening him of prosecution if he kept the initial name, which resonates too much with its own AI, Claude. So this is for two reasons that we heard about 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏 this week. Something promising, although not totally mature just yet. And the second thing which struck me is the relatively invisible yet steady progress or expansion of 𝗬𝗁cie𝗂𝗏, the Chinese AI. If you remember, 𝗬𝗁cie𝗂𝗏 was launched about a year ago, and at that time it was much more frugal than OpenAI in terms of energy and as efficient. And since then, 𝗬𝗁cie𝗂𝗏 has had some offspring with many open source AI models that can be run locally on-premise, as we say. And 𝗬𝗁cie𝗂𝗏 keeps progressing silently. Not many people hear about it, but it keeps progressing, gathering more and more users. And I read that this was sort of partly detrimental to OpenAI. This is one thing I understood. Interesting to know. Personally, would I use 𝗬𝗁cie𝗂𝗏𝗏? I would say probably not. Probably not, given what I'm doing, because not because it's Chinese per se, but because I have no idea. Where the data exactly is stored, what is done with the data, and how, and then if there's any risk of my work or something being stolen, being mimicked, or whatsoever. For that simple reason, I would not use 𝗬𝗁cie𝗂𝗏𝗏 nowadays. I've not tried it, so I do not know if it is good or not. I assume it is good, but I have serious reservations regarding data storage and data use by Chinese authorities. And Chinese authorities and businesses. So I might be wrong, but I prefer remaining cautious now. So this is about AI per se. Then regarding my week and my odyssey into AI, a few things. So this week I had two very fruitful meetings with 𝗬𝗂𝘂𝗏𝗏, a business school with many campuses, so 7 campuses in total, and a couple of campuses overseas. So hang on. Fuad, when do you think people will start requesting threshold AI companies to be more energy efficient? Honestly, I think most people do not really care, or most people are not conscious enough of how much energy is needed. We speak of data centers, we speak of power plants, etc. But I think people do not realize or do not connect mentally the two ideas. I'm using ChatGPT or anything else. And when I'm doing this, I'm requesting a lot of electricity. I think they do not realize. So I think they will perhaps request more frugal AI companies or models when the cost of using AI rises, when subscriptions fees grow, or when their own electricity bill significantly increases. Otherwise, I'm afraid they will not really think about it. So this is my feeling. Back to 𝗬𝗂𝘂𝗿. So I had two interesting meetings, fruitful meetings with the person in charge of end of studies dissertations, and he is interested in two of my tools. I'm not telling you much more, and it would be, if it works, a very, very good contract. The sole thing is that he is not the final decision maker, so he will push, he will support, but we do not know if the school will go ahead with this or not. But there is a genuine interest. Likewise, I spoke with someone from a different school, 𝗬𝗵𝗲𝘀𝗀 Normandie, who is very understanding, who is doing the introductions to the right people to see how they could be receptive to my tools. And I already know a few people there, but it's always better when you have someone internally speeding things up. I've been in touch with the Business Science Institute. The founder is interested in the tools, wants to test them, and is happy to also speak about them around himself. So I'm happy with this. And another two things which happened. I do not know if you remember. I mentioned that I was preparing a proposal for the Cybersecurity Academy in Belgium, so the European Cybersecurity Academy. I was asked to work on a review, a profound review and restructuring of it, which I did, and I submitted this proposal on Thursday morning. I will call the guy this week to see if he received everything or not, as I have not received any receipt acknowledgement, and then we'll see. We'll see. And I suggested 3 possible paths, and all this at nearly a similar cost, similar to what they are incurring at the moment, and also a share for me, which is reasonable. So if they like their idea and if they continue with the funding, then there might be something very interesting on my side, at my end. Still relating to cybersecurity, the person who introduced me to this academy is launching a new offer with a person who is the Pope, the cybersecurity Pope in Europe, and he's a good friend of hers, and together they're doing consultancy and preparing a consultancy offer, and she wanted me to be part of it with AI, and I sent her something on AI with AI training for not just for managers but for board members, for C-suite members. What does a C-suite member, what does a CEO need to know about AI to run their business? And she likes it. So we'll see what comes out of it. But so I submitted this to her. And something which is very recent, it's from today, from this morning. A friend of mine asked me if I could be interviewed for a policy newspaper on a law being reviewed at the French Senate on reforming the private higher education in France. And so I said, oh yes, with great pleasure. And I'll have to, so this morning I read this law proposal, and I hope to work on their interview for her early this week. And all this, as you say, sounds like a good opportunity. Yes, so the cybersecurity thing and AI stuff is indeed a great opportunity. So it would be wonderful. So for now, there's, to be honest, no money coming in, but I'm stepwise getting there. And so for now, it's no problem that there is no money coming in, as the business is not launched just yet. It is about to be, so it should be launched within the next couple of days. Once the business is launched, everything is in place, and then we can start invoicing and we can start cashing money. So I have done all the prep work upstream, and I'm now ready to start. We are ready to start. So this is for this week, and now I'll discuss what is acceptable and what is not in relation to AI use with the dissertation. For this, I will set the scene, and I will also share some prompts that can be useful that can be useful at different stages of your dissertation. First, something I'd like to clarify. Or a reminder. So I will first address what makes AI use intellectually legitimate, and then where AI use undermines academic integrity. And now on what makes AI use intellectually legitimate, I will discuss two things. First, AI as an instrument of intellectual clarification, and then AI as an instrument of methodological lucidity. Regarding AI as an instrument of intellectual clarification, I would like to insist on the fact that research, and this is often a misunderstanding, research is not production. It's not about writing per se. Research is about problematization, so identifying a problem, addressing a problem, raising questions, answering questions. And production, so the written document, be it the thesis, be it a book, be it a paper, this is the expression of research. So there is a say which is a good research is a research which is written. But it does not mean that writing is research. So producing a document is not research. So in the dissertation, what is important is not just, or not exactly the written document per se, but the path from the identification of a topic, the articulating of a research question, and this onto contributions and paths for further research. So what is important is to understand that research and the dissertation are foremost reflection, problematization, reflection, and the consistency of the whole process, of the whole journey. And then the written document is the consequence and the proof of existence of this research. But considering the written product is the end per se, and is, I would not say the end per se, but research in itself is a big mistake. And this is because too often students consider that their dissertation is the written document, their dissertation is their research. This is why they might be tempted to have it outsourced with strictly ghostwriters. This has always existed. I'm not saying it's legitimate. I'm saying it has always existed. Ghostwriters. And nowadays, yes, because of this big misunderstanding of what it is, many are tempted to outsource it to AI, to generative AI, saying, oh, write a dissertation on blah, blah, blah. But the point is that we do not care about this dissertation per se. We care about the whole intellectual journey around it. And what is more interesting is all the behind the stage, behind the scene work that has been done rather than just its expression, its formal expression. So in this, the dissertation is meant to clarify stakes, so to clarify what is at stake, who the actors involved are, what their stakes are, and how all this contributes to clarifying the topic, and how all this helps answer the question that bothers us. And here, when I'm mentioning stakes and people who are at stakes, I'm clearly meaning the literature. So first, I would say three stakeholders, or three populations. First, if you remember, your dissertation must have an interest for yourself, of course, but also for society. So who in society may be concerned with your research, and how could they take advantage from your research or learn lessons from it. Likewise, the second stakeholder will be academics and research itself. Other researchers. Who are they? What have they shown so far? How have they contributed to knowledge? Where are we at nowadays with knowledge? And where do they agree or disagree? And the third stakeholders for your research will be participants, informants, who will help you develop this knowledge, who will help you answer this question that actually bothers you. And this is something, unveiling knowledge through lived experience, is something that only a human being can, and a collection of humans can do. AI technically can't. AI has just a database of what has been published on their internet, what is available on their internet, but does not have all this human memory, everything which is unspoken, which is not even tellable, and where we cannot have an account, actually. So considering AI can answer this question with in your stead is a big mistake. But AI can help in a few places, and I will show you a few prompts that could be very helpful at different stages of your academic journey. So I will show you 5 prompts for a start that could be helpful. Just give me a sec. I will share. Where am I? No, sorry. Just trying to figure something out. Yeah, here I am. Then I'm sharing my screen with you. So here you see the first place where AI can help is with assessing the scientific relevance of your topic. So here the idea is that you start with an idea of a topic and research question. Let's say if you have used my 𝗧𝗵𝗲𝘀𝗀 tool, you might have come up with a tentative topic and tentative research question. It sounds good, it sounds promising, but you need to see how appealing it could be to this dual audience I mentioned early on, which is first society, who in society could be interested, and second academics who in academia could be appealed to your research and how your research project, so your topic or your research question, could fit within current discussions. So that's where we're at. So here, as often, Raoul, you are an academic relevance analysis assistant, important, an academic assistant. So, so that's someone giving you feedback and supporting your work. Task given a research topic and research question, analyze the relevance on 2 distinct levels. And those 2 levels are the ones I mentioned. Scientific relevance, on one hand, what area of existing research the question connects to, what type of knowledge gap, tension, unresolved issue it potentially addresses, then help clarify whether the question is descriptive, explanatory, critical, or exploratory. So what the reach of this question could be. Second level, societal relevance. Identify the social, organizational, economic, political, ethical issues the question relates to. Explain why these issues matters out with academia and indicate who could be concerned by the problem. And then some constraints that here you need feedback on where you're at. So you need to explicitly say, I want feedback. I do not want you to attend to my research question. I do not want you to do anything. Do not reword it. Do not improve it or whatsoever. Do not suggest anything. Do not write anything which is purportedly dissertation ready. No, I want to make the stakes explicit. I'm not trying to justify the project. I want to make sure I am going the right direction. So this is the first place where AI can help at the very beginning. And this would be, like I said, supplementary to using my 𝗧𝗵𝗲𝘀𝗀𝗀 tool, my 𝗬𝗫tic chatbot. I'm asking you questions until you arrive at your own topic and research question. Then, when you have started, and this is something we've discussed lightly. Once you've started, you need to engage with the academic literature. You need to identify what is known, what needs knowing, on what researchers agree and disagree, and where it can fit. In research, there is generally a controversy, so a debate, and it is important that you should be able to really engage in the existing debate, and that you do not identify a debate which is none. And for this, AI indeed can help you, especially if you are a bit lost. Actually, you have done some readings, you're not too clear with sorry, you are not too clear with where to start. You might have a tentative bibliography, you have found references, but you do not really know where to start. So here, what is important is that, again, you want to have some guidance that will give you a reading lens for when you go through the articles, so that you can easily map who's who, and who is discussing with whom, and what the main groups, what the main streams of thought are, and stuff. So for this, again, Raoul, you are an academic assistant. That's important. Task: analyze a body of academic literature as a whole. This means you provide a tentative bibliography or the sources you may have spotted in databases in the first place, and then you're asked to identify the main scientific controversies structuring the field, the competing theoretical perspectives, and recurring lines of disagreements. And what is important is, in particular, when those are not explicitly named, so that you can then have insights or a hint for when you read, so you can read behind the lines. That's what is important. And then infer those positions from differences in anything relating to research design, assumptions, methods, definitions, problem framing. For each controversy, describe what is being debated, so what the core of the debate is, outline the opposing positions, and explain what is the intellectual stake here. And again, something important, you're not writing, for me, anything. I want to map. I want to understand and have some guidance for when I read. I'm not asking you either to summarize articles. Just summarizing articles without giving me any way of reading them will not be helpful at all. And again, I'm not requesting you to write anything which is dissertation ready, precisely because you do not know what I want to write. I want to start. So here it is helping me frame my thought, frame my reading lens for next step. Then the third prompt, which is useful at this stage, is societal and scientific relevance assessment literature field cartography. Here, again, you are a research assistant, and here the idea is to map the literature. So I mentioned early on the controversies that exist, so the debates, and once you are relatively clear with potential controversies, it's important that you see a map, so here it says task to produce a structured analytical map of the literature, which will really read like a graph, So here, output, so it said either structured bullets or labeled sections, no narrative flow, no literature review style paragraphs, but preferably would be a map, so with a diagram where you can identify the main research themes, central concepts, the ones that are recurrent, the dominant theoretical frameworks, but also methods and marginal of emerging approaches. And here, again, what is important is to be able to have a visual of what I showed you with my Excel spreadsheets. You know, things I did manually with risks of missing important things, with risk of misunderstanding things in the literature. So here, this would help me have this vision of things without writing, without doing the work in my stead. Again, this gives me analytical lens for when I browse the literature, when I go through the literature, so that I can read more quickly. I read having already a clue of what I will find in the paper and of the mindset in which I need to go to understand it. And this is where here the third prompt can be helpful. And then the fourth one, concept usage comparison. So here we know that a number of concepts are used in the literature, perhaps differently by different authors, and you want to see how the literature addresses or treats the concepts that are important for your work. So here, for a given concept frequently used, so it will be the concept you give, the one relating to your own work. So compare how different authors use it, identify convergences and divergences, highlight ambiguities or tensions. And here their idea again is to make sure that when you refer to certain authors using the same concept, you do it in a way which is consistent. This means you do not put together people who have nothing in common but the use of the same word, the same concept, but coming from their different traditions, coming from, let's say, incompatible research traditions. And then you avoid preparing a mishmash, an inconsistent mishmash of things, which AI would do if you just asked to write in your stead, a sort of a literature review on this concept or something, or write definitions or define this concept exhaustively or whatsoever, then you would have something which looks good, which may look consistent, but which would miss the point and which would not see where there are different philosophies at stake. And this would be particularly true for concepts like it's a big concept such as accountability. If you say on accountability, then you might need to mention here in what literature, in the governance literature, in the accounting literature, or in the political science literature. If you do not mention it, then you will have a mishmash of a variety of average definitions in different fields. And this is not what you want. And if you say, write for me a definition, a working definition of accountability and associated with a few references, then what AI produces might look good, but is bound to be rubbish. So ask to, again, map how a concept is used and defined in various streams of thought in a specific, in a distinct research area. So you do not want a single definition. You do not want any textbook style explanation. you want to have a focus on variations on the theme, and explicitly variations and where there are variations, so that again you can decide which approach you will adopt. So here with those 4 prompts for when you start, AI is helping you map your thought, but at the end of the day you decide. At the end of the day you write. And that's where AI can be powerful, help you when it helps you understand. And like I said, at the end of the day, you are the one making the final decision as to what makes sense to you, what appeals to your own approach, how this can help you with your own work, what cannot help, and how you want to use it. That's it for now with those prompts and how AI can help. Here I see. I found it valuable to keep all my written and dated notes during the research process, now several folders long. Of course, maybe we could use such prompts to link our research to seemingly unrelated or unplanned, unexpected fields of literature. This is something you can do, but I would not recommend doing it at first, because there's a risk that you would be diverted to directions not that you did not want to take, but that would distract you from the core of your own work. So why not? Intellectually challenging, intellectually interesting, but quite risky. That's where I think you should be very cautious. You could do it. You could, for the purpose of reflecting on contributions. That's exactly what I was about to say. Once you have done the work, indeed, you could confront what you've done with a prompt like this, just to see indeed if there is, well, not if, but how the current literature would perceive your work and your contribution. I think something like this would be more helpful, because things that are seemingly unrelated, unplanned, unexpected. My concern here is that you might, at the end of the day, think, oh, I've missed important things. And no, you have not missed anything. And by definition, something which is seemingly unrelated, unplanned, or unexpected is something you cannot anticipate, and something which might not need to be anticipated. And the risk is that this would bring more confusion than it will help. This is my take on this. Then AI as an instrument of methodological lucidity. So here it is important to remember, and I will develop this in my upcoming streams. It's important to remember that a methodology choice is not arbitrary, that you do not choose a method because you like it. You do not choose a method randomly. You choose a method because you have grounds for this. And when I'm saying this, I know that it may sound as if I was stating the obvious, but too often I've seen students who, even before they start their work, even before they have a working research question, want to do a survey, want to do interviews or whatsoever. But we do not know for what purpose. And it is important to understand that any methodological choice has epistemic consequences. This means that your methods reveal and conceal at the same time. So they reveal the phenomenon you are studying. They reveal answers to questions you are raising, and at the same time, they allow you to identify what is missing, what is problematic, what is not really working, etc. So the choice of methods is not neutral. That's something very important. The choice of methods must be aligned with your research question in the first place. Depending on the question you're asking, different methods will be pertinent. A question like, what are the determinants of? What are the factors influencing blah, blah, blah? What is the impact of this on that? Those are questions that usually call for quantitative methods, and those quantitative methods could be based on databases, on surveys, or others, but this means you must be clear from the onset with the overall purpose of it. Then also with the choice of methods, what you need to have in mind is that the choice of methods must be aligned with the literature you have identified and with the type of gap you have found in the literature. Once you have mapped the literature with what we discussed just before, then you can see what methods would be pertinent to engage in this discussion. When you identify a controversy, you see where methodologically people tend to agree or disagree, what type of methods are appealing to people or are not making sense to people. And here I'm getting back to the COVID-19 controversy just very quickly. If you remember, with COVID-19, we had two camps, one on 𝗬𝗂𝘂𝗵𝗀, saying that it's great, etc. And methodologically, what happened is that Professor Raoult had 70 patients he had been treating for years, and he had known them individually for years and had sort of adapted the treatment specifically for each of them. And he found that 𝗬𝗂𝘂𝗵𝗀 works and considers that 𝗬𝗂𝘂𝗵𝗀 then would work against COVID-19. The controversy was on this, and what happens that pharma companies said no, we can't do that. We can't launch a drug or vaccine just based on this method. We need to have tests on large cohorts. Otherwise, we cannot claim that it is working. And here the controversy was not on whether 𝗬𝗂𝘂𝗵𝗀 works or not, but it was on how should tests be done so that we can decide to use it to treat COVID-19 or not. So let's say here the controversy was clearly methodological. So if you wanted to engage in research on COVID-19, you were obliged to know what the controversy was and what the methodological controversy was. So if you decided to work on a cohort of long-term known patients, this would have meant that you would have spoken with Professor Raoult, and more or less you would have tested 𝗬𝗂𝘂𝗵𝗀. If you decided that methodologically you should work with large cohorts and test on large populations, then it would have been otherwise. It would have been different. Not necessarily 𝗬𝗂𝘀𝗵𝗶𝗀 per se. It could have been anything else. But you would have spoken with the pharma industry, not with Professor 𝗬𝗂𝘀, who did not care about this, did not believe in that approach. So remember this: methods reveal and conceal at the same time. Methods are not chosen randomly. And here, AI is a mirror of your reflection, so of your thinking. So it reflects your reflection in both meanings. It does not design it. And here I'll show you some other prompts that could be useful for you. One, to map the methods present in your field. One aimed at checking the alignment of your research question and methods. And one highlighting methodological blind spots. And all this to really help you frame your own approach and help you make your own decisions. And this is what you really need to have in mind. So here methodological positioning extractor. So here, method question alignment checker. I'm sorry. So here, their idea is to just suddenly have a big doubt. Just give me a sec. I think I'm just all over the place. I need just to double check something, because what I'm showing you is not exactly what I had in mind. Methods present in the field. So yeah, it was here. Story about this. Back here. Oops, here I am. So here, the idea is to identify in the literature the different types of methods that have been employed, how and why, and what has been, what the contribution of those different methods has been. So here, the role methodology analysis assistant, so again, a research assistant task from the academic sources under consideration. So here you submit your tentative bibliography, identify the main methodological approaches used in the field. For each approach, describe its underlying assumptions, typical data materials used, what types of questions it allows or excludes. And here, their idea is not to rank anything, is not to recommend whatsoever or advise or to write anything. It's really here, again, to give you a roadmap. And here, you can ask as format either something with bullet points, where you see, group 1, blah, 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 group 2, blah, 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 with bullet points, or you could ask a graph, a diagram. You could ask whatsoever, depending on how you like working. But what is interesting here is that you would see, again, everything I've been showing you in sessions with my Excel spreadsheet. So everything I've done with Excel manually is something you can here enhance, augment with AI, knowing that at the end of the day, you are the one making the decision. You are the one deciding where to go, and you do it knowingly. Here AI will help you making informed decisions. It is not making decisions in your stead. The next one is, like I said, on method question alignment. So here, again, a research assistant that does critical methodology. The task, given your research question, analyze which types of methodological approaches are compatible with it and which are not. So I mentioned it before with the types of research questions we know and what types of methods might be pertinent or not. So here you will ask what methods would be especially pertinent and why they are, which methods are certainly not pertinent, or why they would be risky. Here, the idea is not to suggest what you should do, but again, to inform your choice. So you know what you're doing, and when you make a choice, you know what risk you're taking or whatsoever. For instance, you absolutely want to do a survey. Your research question is not meant to lead to surveys, but you want to conduct a survey. Here, this prompt will show you the risk you are taking doing a survey. It does not tell you should not do a survey. It says, okay, if you have this research question and consider this type of method, then there is a risk of misalignment and there is a risk of critiques. But you do whatever you want. So that's the point. Therefore, constraints do not propose a final design, does not optimize the question, do not suggest best practices. That's not the point. I want to, again, augment my own decision making with extra insights. And this one will come. There's one which is missing here. So, okay, one prompt is missing. I'll check later. So, here is for AI as an instrument of methodological lucidity. So it shows you what you can do, not what you can do, but what exists, in what contexts different methods are used, what the risks with different methods are, but never, and in no way, by no means, it will tell you what to do. And that's where AI is intellectually legitimate. It is intellectually legitimate when it helps you augment your own decision by giving you the amount of information and insights you need to have so that you can press the button. I would say, I go this direction and I know why. I'm going this direction knowing what to expect when I go this direction. I'm not going randomly. I'm not choosing a theory because I like it. I'm not choosing a theoretical framework because I read it. I'm not deciding on a method because I did it in my previous degree. I'm not doing this method because my mates are doing it. No, I'm choosing this method, I'm choosing this theory because the literature suggests that it is what makes sense to them, because it aligns pretty well with the problem I am studying. So at least you have all those insights that allow you to make a well-informed decision. That's where it's very important. And contradistinctively, where AI use undermines academic integrity is in two places. First, when it operates as a substitute for intellectual judgment, and second, when it leads to losing academic responsibility. So, with the substitution of intellectual judgment, you you will understand very well, I assume, based on everything I've developed, that AI is not here to make decision in your stead. You are not delegating decision making to AI. You are not delegating the choice of the literature, the choice of concepts, the choice of definitions, the choice of methods, the choice of data. You're not delegating anything to AI. If you do, you lose ownership of the research problem. And so that's the first thing. And then there's a big confusion between assistance and authorship. So I would say there are three problems. If you delegate intellectual judgment to AI. First, you are creating what we call a cognitive debt. Now you might not really care. You might think, oh, I'm clever enough. It's no problem. Actually, the thing is, so that there was a study by the MIT showing that abundantly using AI causes cognitive indebting. This means that some neuronal connections are no longer happening, and over a long period of time, there is a risk of losing one's human intelligence. So if you delegate without checking, without assessing by yourself, if you no longer make your own decisions, then there is a big risk that you become dumb. That's part of the problem, actually. Then, if you delegate, then you delegate decision making, you delegate writing. Then what can make you claim that it is your own work? If just imagine that you write in a discipline such as medicine, pharmacy, or whatsoever, there are big errors and there are recommendations that might put people's lives at risk, and so you have it written by AI, or every decision has been made by AI. Okay, then what happens? Your paper will be contested, the results will be contested, you might be prosecuted, and what will you tell for your own defense? What will you say? Oh, I'm sorry, it's not my fault, AI suggested. And I trusted AI, so it's AI's fault. Do you really think it's acceptable? Especially as you are the author of the document. So as you are the author of the document, you are the person entirely responsible and liable for its contents. So if you delegate major decisions, if you delegate its writing to AI, just like to any ghost writer, then you are binding yourself to responsibility and liability without actually, and this is your feeling, without actually owning the content. And you will feel injustice if you are prosecuted or contested for what is written there. Think, but no, it's not exactly me. But no, there's your name on it. So it is a big risk for you. And the third thing is that honestly, if you delegate decision making, if you decide to lose ownership of your own work, then, and if you, let's say, pretend that something written by AI is yours, actually, you're considering your reader is stupid. Really. And then if you delegate this to AI, so this decision maker, so major decisions, like the question, like the literature, like the theory, like the methods, even the writing, of course, the conclusions, the recommendations, or whatsoever, then you're telling people, actually, I've tricked you, I'm tricking you, and I assume you will not find that I'm tricking you. And do you really think people are stupid enough so they do not have this feeling that you're tricking them? Honestly, anytime we feel that something is not entirely authentic, anytime we feel there's a lack of personal involvement in what is written, then there is a suspicion that you are tricking us. And this suspicion is not good. It does not look good on you, does not look good on other people. So then if you are suspected of tricking us with this now, why should we trust you at all? Now and in the future. That's the that's the very problematic issue here at stake. You know, you lose cognitive capabilities on one hand, so this is your problem, but you are then exposing your own responsibility, your own liability, and you are also undermining trust and confidence at large in you. But if in you, why not in others? Why not in your neighbor? Why not in your mates? And more generally, you indirectly contribute to this distrust and defiance in science, as we have noticed since the pandemic. If you remember, before the pandemic, conspiracy theories were relatively confined to hidden circles. And I'm using this word confinement on purpose. So this confinement was lifted with the pandemic, where you had people who started defying science, people who started saying everything and anything about vaccination, about hydroxychloroquine or whatsoever. You have had some people spreading a number of fake news on whatsoever, be it on the planet being flat and not spheric, on man having never stepped on the moon, on a number of things. And here, this was even before AI. But what I would like to show you here is that when there's distrust in what is written, when there's distrust or defiance vis-a-vis science, then there's a big issue, actually. So it's I do not want to be moralizing or whatsoever and say, oh, you're in danger, you're undermining democracy or whatsoever. That's not my point, even if it is part of the problem. But I just want to say that here, delegating your work, delegating your decision, delegating your writing to AI, just like to any other ghostwriter raises a global suspicion on you first, on you first here, more generally, and if you're found having tricked people here, why would you not trick people on other things in the future? Why should we trust you if here you were not deserving trust? We first trusted you, you abused this trust, and why would we continue trusting you in the future? Why would we give you a second chance in the future? And this is a practical ethical question, actually. So here, I do not want to be moralizing, saying, oh, it's bad, blah, blah, blah. Just very practical, very pragmatic, even if I do not like this word in this context. But technically speaking, if you delegate to AI, you lose judgment, you lose responsibility, and you lose trust and confidence. So you are, on 3 accounts, exposing yourself. You are undermining yourself, you're undermining your own credibility, your own legitimacy in the future. So even in the near future. And bear in mind, upon request from a university, I have developed a tool that detects the usage of AI at 3 levels. First, semantic and linguistic, identifying recurrent patterns used by generative AI. Second, cognitive, so the depth of involvement in the writing. I'm not telling you what the algorithm is, of course. And third, argumentative depth. And argumentative, not necessarily consistency, but depth and depth and breadth at the same time. So this is a tool that works pretty well. So imagine you entirely, or not necessarily entirely, you delegate your decision making, you delegate your writing. My tool, 𝗬𝗂𝘵𝗵, can detect it and will write a report saying what is bound to have been delegated to whatsoever. So here, my view is that this tool should serve as a basis for discussion, but you are never certain that people who use this tool might not use it to apply sanctions. By the way, when I spoke recently with a school dean, he told me something which was very funny. Well, funny. He said to me, well, I like your tool, but I will probably not subscribe to it because I might have hundreds of disciplinary panels. If I run it as a program director, as a dean, I cannot ignore such situations if your report highlights those problems. I know there may be problems, but if I do not have a tool, then I can sort of ignore them. If I have this tool, I'm obliged to take them into consideration, and I can imagine the situation where I am sending hundreds of students before a disciplinary panel. So can you imagine that that's where we're at? So delegating is the biggest risk ever. And if you think you're clever because you delegate, you're actually dumb. So, just in a nutshell, AI can use, so generative AI and prompts can use you clarify what exists, understand current research, understand your own positioning, assess your own positioning, assess your own approach, and bear in mind that those tools, those prompts are tools that can help you at some points when you have doubts, when you're uncertain, when you need clarity. But remember that at the end of the day, you are the one making the decision, the final decision. And if you decide to delegate any decision to AI, you are exposing yourself at risk. And here I'm not even speaking of ethics. So ethical discussion is more moral. Here I'm just speaking cynically of the risk for you. So, 𝗬𝗵𝗲𝗀𝗀, you are saying, when using AI in my corporate work, I typically ask AI to include a final recommendation. Perhaps it would be better to explicitly ask AI to avoid a final recommendation so that I do not lose my critical thinking skills. Yes, the recommendation should be yours, of course, but what can be interesting is if you ask several possible recommendations, and if you then decide, by yourself, and if you ask AI why it makes this particular recommendation, and then you can decide, you see, okay, is this recommendation making sense or not? Is it a recommendation I could have made myself? So honestly, because we can intellectually be dishonest and say, oh yes, I would have, even if it's not true. But is it something I could have articulated myself or not? If you recognize yourself in it, and if it is well justified, and if yourself can justify it, why not? But then I suggest you ask several scenarios, and then you challenge those scenarios. When I use AI and need scenarios or recommendations to get started with something, I systematically ask it to audit its own work, so to justify, to audit its own work, to really compare it with my initial request and see what comes out from it. I always ask a concurrent AI to audit the work and to audit the audit, so as to see whether it's worth exploring or not. So if the two AIs arrive at a similar conclusion that yes, that's a valid recommendation or a recommendation on which we could rely, then I will further explore it. It does not mean I will discard it. It does not mean either that I will make this final recommendation. It does mean that I will take it into consideration, explore it, to then decide to retain it or not. So if you do it in such a way, then you remain critical and you remain responsible for your own decisions. Then you say, it would seem that science is the currency of social progress, just as we need to fight counterfeit currency. Exactly. I think we're also obligated to fight counterfeit science. That's exactly it. I didn't want to engage in the social progress, democracy discussion, but that's the very point, actually. And I really love this wording. I will reuse it tomorrow in my French live, and ascribing this to you because it is really great. So thank you very much for this wording. It's just beautiful. So exactly, science is the currency of not just social progress, but also the social contract and social consensus. And and as we need to fight counterfeit currency, which makes us lose trust in exchange, in economic exchange, we must indeed fight counterfeit science, because it is an aggression on the social consensus, on our social contract. So I fully agree with you. So I hope you enjoyed tonight's stream. I'm not sure just yet what I will discuss on Sunday next week. I'll think about it. So still as a continuation and extension of all this, and we'll see exactly. I still have a few ideas in mind, and still hesitating between 2 or 3 of those. So my pleasure, 𝗬𝗲. Thank you very much for attending, for making it. I'm not sure who the other guest was. Whoever you are, thank you very much for making it. Thank you very much for joining. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it was helpful. Then I wish you a lovely evening and a great week ahead. And I hope to see you next Sunday. Bye to all.